Seller trying to force me to buy their home. I bought a home and stipulated that I would cancel based upon major defects. Well, the radon report came back quadruple what the value should be and may not be fixable per the inspector, given no access to the crawl space, and it turned out there was fecal matter leaking into their sump pump. They denied knowledge of this, though you could smell that water throughout the basement. The inspection was on 9/20, the last day to cancel the contract. The inspection was on the last day because the seller only gave us a single day as a possibility to schedule the inspection. I told my realtor that I wanted to cancel the contract that day the sellers were home. The realtor went and spoke to the sellers and they agreed to give us a few days to think about it. I told my realtor I didn't want to think about it. He told me, and I have all of this in writing, that I couldn't cancel until a plumber radon inspector assessed and told me if it could be fixed. I let it go until 9/22 when I called him in the afternoon and told him I would not wait and wanted termination papers. I signed them officially 9/23. Was told they were keeping the earnest money. And didn't hear back for a week. The realtor contacted me 9:30 and told me that the sellers rejected the termination papers on the grounds that it was beyond the contract termination date. I asked him why. He had told me that we had a few days after the inspection and termination date. He told me that it was verbally discussed with the sellers and their realtor, but wasn't in writing. Fortunately, I have all of this in writing from my own realtor, including on 9/20 when he said we had a few days beyond the inspection termination date. Side note: my realtor gave them the inspection I paid for without asking me. I told him to tell them I was not interested in the home and assumed it was over. Instead, yesterday I find out that the sellers are supposedly fixing the radon fecal water and expect me to be at the closing 10/13. They say that their own home purchase is contingent on me buying their home and they close 10/13. I no longer have financing as I canceled the loan after deciding that I wasn't going to buy a home in that area. The seller's real estate agent refused to talk with us and told us to talk to my realtor. My realtor refuses to answer the phone and his boss will not answer the phone either. I had a friend call and they answered immediately. I contracted a lawyer who said that the original contract is full of errors and that they can't force me to buy a home. I very clearly said I wasn't buying. The lawyer said that they had no damages from being told within 48 hours of the original termination date. Today, the seller and their realtor told us we are buying the home. I feel like I'm in an alternate reality where they refuse to listen to anything. This is my first home and this seems like a crazy experience. Is there anything I should be doing differently to mitigate the situation? Just leave this in the capable hands of your attorney after provide a detailed documentation of the timeline and your position. If anyone contacts you, direct them to your attorney. The seller is in a much worse position than they think. If they think they're going to force you to perform, they're mistaken. If they think they'll be able to hold on to your EMD, they're really going to be in for a world of hurt. When the property is tied up pending resolution of the dispute, if you need to engage a lawyer to explain this to them, I would. They're trying to close on another home. So the sooner they focus their attention on finding a buyer, the better. That will require them releasing your EMD. Also ditch your realtor. File a complaint. And hire an experienced realtor to help you find a home. Sounds like you don't show up and be ready to lawyer up for the escrow money. Also leave a bad review everywhere you can online for your current realtor. Find out your state regulatory agency and leave a voicemail with both the realtor and brokers, saying you are reporting them to the state. Is the lawyer that told you that the contract was full of errors willing to represent you? If not, you need a lawyer who will represent you and it will likely cost some money. Did the sellers have a right to cure any defects found on the inspection? Do you have a financing contingency? Don't go to closing. Document all previous interactions to verify dates and what was communicated. Direct all current and future communication through your attorney. I'd also ask your attorney about filing a complaint with the local state real estate commission. The fact that neither your agent or their supervising broker will communicate with you is a pretty big red flag that they know they messed up. You have a lawyer. Use them to send a letter to the everyone saying that you expect your earnest money back by X date. Stop talking to people who are trying to scam you. I'd also report your realtor to the licensing board and provide the proof you have that you told them to cancel. Complaint with the recommission should be started. You should have already had your deposit released, and assuming you haven't, that should be your priority. Contact the title company and tell them you're not closing. Email your realtor and CC the brokerage giving some deadline to have your earnest money refunded. If they're smart they'll scramble to write you a check. After that you'll need a lawyer to send a formal demand letter and go through the legal process for recouping damages resulting from the realtor's UPL. You are under no obligation to buy the house. Plain and simple. Lawyer up. Well, your agent is a dum-dum. The offer should have been written. Offer can be cancelled by buyer if inspection defects are found that are not acceptable to the buyer. What the hell is a major defect? As opposed to general defect, private defect, sergeant defect, admiral defect, lieutenant defect, etc. Your agent can buy the house if that makes the seller happy. Your attorney should be able to tamp this one down quickly. P.S. The seller's agent is a dum-dum too. Moving on to the next buyer is almost always smarter than litigation, which is time-consuming, expensive, and the outcome is uncertain. Have your lawyer write both the sellers and your agent a letter requiring your deposit back by X date. I would also report your agent to their agency and make sure they get a copy of the letter. Stop talking to them all directly. Communication should go through the attorney only. Never trust realtors. All way goes by the contract terms. It's conflict of interest. They want to get paid commission and will say anything to keep the contract going. File a complaint with your state realtor board on both agents first. It seems like your agent didn't do anything for you. Sorry, I got to say it. What an effing moron. There should be a law to prevent agents like that from getting anywhere near the largest purchases of people's lives. Expect me to be at the closing 10/13. They say that their own home purchase is contingent on me buying their home, and they close 10/13. Both closings are on Friday the 13th. Your realtor sucks. He stopped caring when the commission well dried up. Another worthless, incompetent realtor. TM. Think these clowns really deserve the 300 raises they've gotten over the past few years? Don't talk to the sellers or their agent, or even your own agent or only communicate with your attorney and let your attorney be the one to communicate with the other parties. The attorney will have your best interest clearly. Your agent does not. How does fecal matter get into a sump pit? Sump pits are for groundwater. Broker here. In most states there is no such thing as passive removal of contingencies. This means that just because you're beyond your contingency dates you still have that contingency. Unless the seller has given you a notice to perform and then cancels you. Even then your deposit should come back once the cancellation is signed by both parties. I don't know what state you're in. Search for insert state passive removal of contingencies. Get an attorney. You can walk, the seller's just playing with your head. Walk.